It's the dawn of consumerism. The rise of the yuppie is beginning. We're about to see an explosion of blockbuster movies, and video is arming itself to kill the radio star. It's the 1980s. Grab your pop swatch, dig out your double denim, open a wham bar, snuggle into your favourite Cabbage Patch Kid and kick back as we're going to guide you through the decade that brought us neon socks, MTV and Max Headroom. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 52, the 80s Throwback.
Superman.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Hi and welcome to part one of our 80s throwback. Tonight we're going to be looking at the early part of the decade. Thatcher and Reagan are beginning to become best buddies. Every kid in the Western world is eagerly awaiting for the Empire to strike back, and Mattel are about to unleash the most powerful man in the universe. I'm your host for this episode, Damien Hicks, and as ever I am joined by
Paul Hawkins
and Brett Summers.
Okay, so before we get going, let's give you some background and some context. In world economics, a former actor famous for starring in westerns is president. The Iron Curtain is firmly closed, and the UK has its first female prime minister. In music, disco is on the decline, and punk is being replaced by new wave. On TV, we're about to be introduced to phrases such as "lovely jubbly" and "what you talking about, Willis?" And in film, a stranded alien is about to melt our hearts. Carrie Ann is about to scare us shitless, and Phoebe Cates is going to awaken something that you never knew existed. But we'll have more on that later. We're going to be looking through 1980 through to 1983. So where do we begin? Or has anyone else got anything to add before we get going?
No, I've just got a Phoebe Cates glow. Yeah. it was on the Genesis vibe for a minute, talking about Reagan and Thatcher, you know, with their... It was just like the most expensive video of the time, with all the spitting image puppets. And then that was replaced with my memories of Phoebe Cates.
No, I was thinking Frankie Goes to Hollywood, actually, with Reagan and Gorby having the punch-up.
Oh yeah, Two Tribes.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think before we get into like the TV shows and everything like that later on, it was a bit of a different world, wasn't it? And I think it would blow my kids' heads if they went back to the 80s after seeing everything that they have at their disposal now, being limited to a couple of channels.
No phone signal.
Some of the time, you couldn't pick and choose. It was, Dad, I want to watch my program. No, football's on.
Okay, so let's get into that. So let's roll up our sleeves on our linen shirts and suits, and have a look at what we could have won.
Hey.
So you're right. I reckon there's a phrase, isn't there? The past is a different country, or something like that. And
that famous phrase.
I'm sure
that we might be saying right.
It's something like that anyway. So behind me, I'm not going to bother getting out of the box because there's no point. We're on the radio. We're on a podcast. But I've got a Swatch phone behind me that has like literally two bits you can talk into. So you think, if you wanted to have more than 3 people in a phone conversation, that's what you had to do. There's no Teams. There was no Snapchat.
No.
I don't even know what Snapchat is, actually, to be fair, but I think it's something to do with
naked photos to people and then they delete after 30 seconds, isn't it?
That's Snatch Chat.
Yeah.
You've got the wrong app.
I've never been on Snapchat. No, so I was saying this to Kira the other week when we were at Bewley, like when my Apple Watch started ringing and I was speaking to Shal on it. It's like, you don't know how cool this would have been in the 80s. This is Inspector Gadget era. Yeah,
it's true. It's like the great Alpie Hartley wrote in his 1953 novel, The Go-Between. The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there.
See? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Google.
I knew there was something along those lines.
Yeah. So you're
yes.
dictated by what was on. Even with video recorders, let's face it, they were kind of hit and miss.
Well, they weren't even really there yet. If you had a video at this point, by 1983, you were minted.
Oh, yeah, we had a video.
Yeah. Well, we've jumped straight to 1983.
I'm just saying, by 1983, I don't think did we have? I don't remember.
Early 80s, we had a telly with a dial on that you had to get right to the relevant frequency or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That we were allowed to watch upstairs.
That's right. Yeah, we're the same. It's a black and white one. And
Yeah.
in fact, it ended up having a coat hanger in it as a replacement aerial.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Usually worked better from memory.
Yeah, because the metal was thicker. Okay, so 1980, some of the box office hits of the time. We're talking Empire Strikes Back, Stir Crazy. We can come back to these. I'm just giving you a little bit of a list.
Setting the scene to listeners is that obviously we're not going to go through every film and telly program between 1980 and 1983. We've picked a selection. Yes, they may not be everyone's favourites, or
Despite my protests, we won't do all of them.
Yeah.
but yeah, we've selected a few for this.
Including, I'll carry on, shall I?
Yep.
Cool,
Yeah.
thank you. So
Look,
Blues
look,
Brothers,
look,
we've got
look.
Caddyshack, The Shining, Flash Gordon, The Fog, Song of the South, which I've put on this list just because I don't think anyone would ever get to see that again. I'm sure it's been pulled from Disney Plus. I think it went out on Disney Plus and then got taken down within 2 or 3 days. I'm not sure.
Song of the South.
Mm.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay.
We might still have it because we have a lot of stuff between there's stuff on Disney Plus in America that's been taken down that we've still got,
Oh, right,
and
okay.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I remember
Okay.
watching that at school.
Yeah. The
At end of term thing.
on a big sheet
Yeah.
as a projector screen. Yeah.
On a spiel.
Yeah.
We always had Escape to Witch Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
I remember they did Empire Strikes Back one year, but it was so long we had to leave like halfway through. It's like no one wanted to leave.
We had
still.
Empire Strikes Back on video, and it took me years to work out why the Empire Strikes Back was written on one of those white postcards and stuck on a wall before the film started. I was like, they didn't do that in the other one. And then one day, the penny dropped. 80s were also the birth of pirate video.
Very much so. So that's 1980s films. So anyone want to elaborate on those? I mean, yeah, we're here to talk about.
Yeah, go through the list again, as I appear to have missed it when I read my email.
So we've got Empire,
Yeah,
Stir Crazy,
brilliant,
Airplane,
brilliant,
Any Which Way You Can.
awesome. And I kind of built my life on that film.
Yeah, for me,
And
it's
you ever
been
did
so
get an
long.
orangutan,
They've
though?
merged together. I don't know. I couldn't tell you which
It
one
was one story really, and the
They
floozy
just did
lady,
so well.
ended
They
up
did it
marrying.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the second one had the real Will Smith in, the one that if he had slapped Chris Rock, he wouldn't have got up. The big burly William Smith, the proper Will Smith, not the Fresh Prince of
The
Bel-Air
Will
who
Smith
came
of
on
legend.
later on. Yeah, if you
Well,
don't know
not
who
I
he
Am
is,
Legend.
if you don't know who he is, Google him. As soon as you see him, you're like, ah, shit, that guy. I'm not spilling his pie.
Or dissing his wife. I'll carry on with the list. The Shining, Flash Gordon, The Fog, Song of the South, and Mad Max. So that's just a few.
Yeah.
There's obviously shed load more.
Well, Mad Max really screwed me up. I can remember the first time I watched that around my auntie's, my older cousin, Robert, who's sadly no longer with us, had it on video and made me watch it. And at the age of, was it 1980?
Oh yeah, hey, yeah. 3.
Maybe I was a little bit older.
Yeah,
Maybe I
I'd say
watched it a
so.
bit later. But I wouldn't go past 5. I can remember the bit where the guy either had to get burned to death or saw his own hand off or whatever it was. And I still remember now the mum and child running down the road, and you just see like the little shoes drop because they've been mowed down by the evil gang. Yeah. And I can't remember who it was, but it was like the police chief after Goose gets like burned alive or burned in the car by the evil gang. It's like, the Goose was always going to get it, Max. You knew it more than anyone.
Yeah, that's the bit that,
Yeah.
that always stood out in my memory is
It's a
the
bit graphic.
bit in the car.
Didn't go much on the actor. Didn't think he'd get far, but
Who knew?
I don't think I watched Mad Max until probably late 80s, after Mad Max 2 actually probably came out, or even the third one. But I remember, Dad was mad on
Max.
Stir Crazy, Airplane, and Any Which Way You Can. Obviously the biggies. I just remember him laughing his head off at Stir Crazy and
Stir Crazy is
Any
just
Which Way You Can. And
is
Airplane.
in my top 20 probably. I wouldn't go as far as to say top 10. That was-
Yeah. With the legendary Erlen Van Leef de Jude, you can check out on our other podcasts and all over the website.
Yeah, and he no doubt will have his own TikTok video at some point soon.
Yeah.
if someone wants to volunteer to say his name.
And obviously, Flash Gordon, for me as a kid, was probably a standout for a couple of reasons. One, Peter Duncan was in it, so that got hyped up quite a lot on the BBC. And you had the little making of, but also because of the soundtrack, because Queen were absolutely huge at the time, and the fact that they were doing a whole album, again, it was just one of those other things that kept sucking you in.
So did you see the interview recently? Because they've just done the however many years it is now for Flash Gordon. It's like
well, we can do the maths now if you want. It was released in 1980.
Good point. Good point, man. But I don't know when it came out. It was like they did I think it was like the 21 years or something like that. Anyway, there was an interview with Peter Duncan, and he was on about like when they were doing this, he'd gone up to
Pierce Brosnan.
No, Dalton, wasn't it? So I'm trying to mess my head up, and it was like, oh, how are you? Nice seeing that, and he was just like, who are you? And he spent all this time going, yeah, I didn't see him until he died. Didn't even remember who I was.
It's no surprise, is it? To be fair,
I was on TV more than he was then.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and Princess Adora, Princess, was that her name?
Yeah, well, I remember some of those things anyway.
Ming's daughter, basically.
Yeah.
Who at one point was following us on Instagram.
And she's certainly no Minger, is she? Let's face it.
No, that was definitely. And in all honesty, it took me many years to actually get the undertones of the whole evil regime. I never ever saw it as a racial thing. I know later on it apparently was like the Chinese, which at the time when the original Flash Gordon was written would have been seen as like a bad thing. But that was kind of the Ming the Merciless was a kind of...
Yeah.
But no, I never noticed that. I just thought it was a space
No,
dude.
it's just a space film.
As a kid, it was a space film. He was a space dude. He wore a plastic thing on his head because he was bald.
Yeah.
He had a ring. And Jason King was the robot.
And they kept giving women alcohol or whatever it was to make them like Ming the Merciless.
Yeah. Something I adopted later in life.
All right. I was thinking more.
Yeah, there's...
I
don't know where to go with that.
I was thinking
was that Peter Stringfellow?
I thought you were going to go to like Big Trouble in Little China reference or something, but hey, okay, we might cut that bit for legal
We'll
reasons.
see. So just a bit of more context, and we'll just mention some TV shows, and then we can all come back and talk about the whole shebang. But on the small screen, we've got Dukes of Hazzard, MASH, Magnum PI, Different Strokes, Heart to Heart. Heidi High debuted in this year. I think Magnum PI debuted in this year as well, actually. I haven't written that down.
81, I think, Magnum PI. Let me just check.
You do your research. The adventure game that debuted in this year. King Rolo debuted. Juliet Bravo. Cockleshell Bay.
Rosie and Robin.
Buck Rogers was continuing. Metal Mickey debuted. Button Moon. Cracker Jack was continuing.
After Button Moon.
The Doctor Who in 1980 was Tom Baker.
Creep.
We had Rent-A-Ghost, Wurzel Gummidge, and Sapphire and Steel,
Yes.
to name but a few.
So a load of mixed up, mashed up, weird telly, and people basically just going over the top with crime. And then Juliet Bravo. I imagine that was quite gritty and hard. I think there was a bit in Juliet Bravo, probably wasn't the 80s, probably one of the later series, when someone died because they were snorting glue or something. Real gritty.
Well, it's probably all part of that the Just Say No campaign. I should mention, just for ongoing purposes, and so we don't get pedantics emailing us. When I've put debut in here, it pretty much means UK debut because that's where we're based. So
it's when we saw it.
When we saw it first. If you're in the States, you may well have had these series. Well, you wouldn't have had Heidi.
Juliet Bravo.
Yeah.
Heidi Hi.
Yeah, I can't imagine that working over there. Certainly not at that time, anyway.
No.
But yeah, it's UK debuts. But
Although,
anyway, so Brett, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say Magnum PI was, listed online as 1980 to 1988.
Yeah, see,
I didn't think it went on that long.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean it was
really
continuous. There might have been some big gaps in the...
Or like TV specials or something. Yeah, that's true. But yeah.
Because I'm sure I read somewhere or I heard a rumour that he was originally slated to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But he turned it down because he didn't want the other guys to lose out on the work that they'd already signed up for Magnum or
I
something
thought
like
it was
that.
because he's already trapped in a contract and he couldn't get out of it. But let's go with him. Let's go with
Yeah,
him being
let's go
nice.
with being a nice guy.
Bit of Bergerac as well. Do we have Bergerac?
I thought that I've got that as a debut in 1981, but
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm your head.
yeah,
Sorry.
see, we can move
I'm
on.
just
We can go
excited.
if you like. We can go through.
I just want to get to the bit that Bergerac and Monkey Magic had the same opening. I'm happy now. We can talk about. That was my bit. I've done it. But yeah, there's some great shows there. Sapphire and Steel was definitely. We talked about this before on other podcast, but that messed me up as a child. Actually, most of the programs and films I'll talk about again are things, and we've done episodes on this, that just screwed me up as a kid. Because I think that's what TV was supposed to do.
A lot of them
days.
are weird.
That's what film was supposed to do in those days.
It's like a throwback for some of the weird stuff in the 70s, but either on a different tangent or, I don't know, just maybe a bit more colour.
Yeah, even.
Well, I think all the people that were doing acid and stuff and psychedelic drugs in the 70s came down and started making TV.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it was quite dark because they'd fucked themselves up.
Also, they had a lot more creative freedom.
Yeah.
Shall
So,
we say?
Sapphire and Steel, I know of it, and I know I have seen episodes of it, but I really don't remember it that well. And yes, you have talked about it on previous podcasts, but give us a
basically
snifter, if
there
that's
is
the right
some
word.
rain sniff. Wait, 80s referencing as well.
We're going for the full 80s aesthetic.
Sapphire and Steel were assigned by an unseen force to investigate usually sort of time anomalies, and they would often hate things like photographs or antiques and things out of its original time because it would screw up the
Anachronisms.
corridor of time. Good word, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably even say that.
I got that
And,
from Life on Mars, but
yeah.
we're not talking about that. 'cause
But,
that's-
They must have flipped on the Antiques Roadshow. Can you imagine them
Yeah,
there?
that episode where they kick the shit out of the crew of the Antiques Roadshow is one of my favourite. No, so something would happen, like there was one once where like people were disappearing into a photograph, or was it coming out of a photograph? I can't remember now. The really famous one is the train station where the soldier keeps coming home from war and he whistles, "Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag," and you just hear that whistling across an empty train station. That's really creepy. And there was another one where this dude just didn't have a face, and I remember that being disturbing. And to be honest, nowadays it was probably like a plain white mask just plastered over his face, but at the time it was just one of those sort of images that just sort of messed you up as a child and left you in a state of mind that in years later would doom you to podcasting. But yeah, so they would investigate, and Steele was I forgot the bloke's name. Joanna Lumley was Sapphire. Steele was David McCallum, and he was more the sort of bad cop because he didn't really seem to care about anyone or anybody. He just wanted to solve the case. Whereas Sapphire was a bit more kind of, we should help them. He's like, yeah, we'll leave.
He just
We'll
wants
do
to
it."
get
So,
home.
yeah, he wants to get it done, go home. He's on the clock.
Hide your
you know.
eyes on telly later.
Yeah. And then
He
occasionally
wants to have a
you'd get
baby shower and go to bed.
occasionally they would need other people. So like I think Silver and a couple of others have appeared during the show. You know, like because they've all got like special skills or something. You know, and occasionally they need to rope in someone else to help them do it. And then it ended on a cliffhanger that's never been resolved. So if you're writing TV at the moment and you need something to do, if you could come back and do that, that would help me. Twin Peaks has been sorted now. Can you come back and do Sapphire and Steel? And I think I'm pretty much there.
I'm gonna have to. Everything you've said would make me want to watch this. And like I say, I'm pretty certain I've probably seen one or two episodes because
I have it
I
on
remember it being
physical
on-
copy.
okay.
Or if it's on BritBox.
Damn you, BritBox.
Why I heard
But I do have the box set if you'd like to borrow it.
I might have to do that.
But they're all just, I think, like it's all like assignment 1, assignment 2, and then it's just in parts. They didn't mess about with flashy names in those days.
No. Don't sit there for an hour and a half like we do trying to come up with an episode title.
Yeah, there was just assignment
Missed a
1.
trick there, didn't we?
And yeah, so that was good. And then I forgot what was the next one. I forgot what you said.
Well, there's plenty on here to go through. The
Yeah.
adventure game, that one stands out. That used to scare me. I was genuinely scared of the adventure
I
game.
think I was the same.
it was a big rubber plant.
It's just, I don't
Do
know
you know
what.
what? I remember just being
It was
that
something a bit
excited
wrong.
about it, and I can remember recording some actually. Now we've said that, when we had our massive top loader, which was probably like weighed more than the,
Yeah.
nearly went through the floor, and then watching them and all that, and then they years ago when they'd done the BBC Store, they had the adventure game on it, and I bought them, and I was asleep in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would stand up.
Even
Certainly for our
Challenger-
age now.
Yeah,
but-
it's
Just a bit at the end where they're on the grid and
Yeah,
they've got
I think
things
that's what's
coming
scary.
after them to
but the,
kill
the
them.
Vortex wasn't until Series 2 though.
Oh, right, okay.
I found out. 'Cause I was like, oh, wait, that bit will be good, and it wasn't there. And then Moira Stewart as an alien. That
Yep.
was got Gronda. And all that. But for those who are wondering what the hell it was basically a kind of precursor to the Crystal Maze, where various TV personalities, and I use that term loosely, were
More often than not,
transferred.
Keith Chegwin.
Yeah. And Teabag, before she was
Yeah.
Teabag, were transported to a mysterious planet where they would have to sort of do these really tough
Sorry,
quizzes. and
it's probably
things.
worth just interrupting you there. For people that want a more up-to-date reference, Teabag, before she was Teabag, is now
She's in
Diane,
Emmerdale,
I think her name is, in
Emmerdale.
Emmerdale.
That sounds right. Diane
Yeah.
sounds right. Yeah. So basically, it was like a mental quiz game type thing where they were on another planet, and the people were kind of lizards that transformed into human form. And Moira Stewart was there, and lots of other jobbing actors who needed to work. And then they would have to like win their passage back to Earth, I think. But
Yeah.
some of them then got disintegrated on the vortex at the end.
And that's the bit that I'm sure that's the bit that used to
Yep.
just
Yeah.
basically scare the shit out of me. Bearing in mind it's 1980, I'm 3, so
Gronda. Yeah, it's worth a watch. It's an interesting concept. If they modernised it and brought it back, it could do really well. We haven't got many more of those sort of Crystal Mazy type shows anymore, have we? That I
No.
know of.
no, I mean it's out. It's off topic, but it's the same for Nightmare.
Yeah,
bring
Nightmare
that
is a
kind of
similar
stuff
one. Yeah,
back. Then I reckon it would be if because you could combine Nightmare with Crystal Maze, so make it an older audience.
Crystal Nightmare.
Crystal Nightmare. There you go.
That does sound like a drug fuel.
Just for people of the 80s.
Put a VR headset on them. Give them some crystal meth.
Bit of Patrick Bateman. Bit of Huey Lewis in the background. Here's an axe. Yeah, but yeah, that's a sort of lost genre, I
So
think.
also debuting in 1980 is Metal Mickey.
This is your ballpark.
This is my ballpark. So it's an odd one. You've got what's essentially a dustbin with flashy lights on that's become sentient thanks to like a sweet called a fizzy bomb. And I actually, because I recorded a TikTok video about this the other day, and I've tried to research what a fizzy bomb is, and the best thing I can find is that back when Metal Mickey came out, makers of bonbons marketed them as fizzy bombs to coincide with and get all like Metal Mickey on the packet. But
Crafty time.
yeah, but I don't necessarily think that that's what they were going for when they originally created the show. Anyway, so he gets fed a this fizzy sweet and becomes sentient, and obviously all hilarity and chaos ensues for I think 3 seasons. He eventually learns that he can sing and goes off to be a pop star, and actually had some minor chart success, which I think is in part down to the fact that former Monkey drummer and vocalist Mickey Dolenz is the director for many of the episodes and produced the entire show. So if you want to find out more about that, head over to TikTok and look for Remembering Metal Mickey.
I think I may have also been a bit responsible for his chart success. I wish I still had him. I bet they're worth a few quid now.
Yeah, chart hits is Silicon Valley, silly spelled SLLY, and something about I think it's I Can Boogie or Boogie Boogie. Well, his catchphrase was Boogie Boogie, wasn't it?
Yeah, not at all like Pat Rogers.
No.
Yeah.
And obviously, if either of you two want to find out more, and there's a Metal Mickey album around here somewhere. Oh, it's behind me, and in there it tells you how to make a bomb.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, that's what you need in the 80s.
Seriously,
The
it's
Falklands were around the
Yeah.
corner. We needed to get prepared.
the ingredients are iron filings, saltpeter, lime fertilizer, brandy, and I can't remember what else.
The prison riots were quite high that year, weren't they? Was that the one when everyone got on the roof of that prison?
I think that was a bit later, but it did strike me as a bit odd that that's in a book that's marketed
Strange
to like
ways
8
here
to
we
12-year-olds.
But at least it was realistic.
Yeah.
We hide that from
Yeah,
kids now.
and there's a whole page of breakdown of the terms used in CB radio, because you want to encourage your kids to talk to strangers
We
over
had
the
a
airwaves.
CB. We had a CB.
Did you?
Yeah.
There you go. You would have found that book
Not in
useful.
1980, to be fair. It was probably a bit later.
So
than
those of
that,
you not
85.
listening, that was basically like TikTok in the old days.
Yeah,
Well, I remember my brother
it's
used
like
to
a
get...
chat room, but then no one would even know what a chat room is.
He used to get really annoyed because someone would leave their the switch down, so they were just constantly on, like they thought they had their own radio show, and he was just annoyed because that's not the point of it. You're out there to try and talk to people, not just broadcast.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Yeah,
to be fair, we've got a big old area at the back of our house.
Would that have been the Dukes of Hazzard's fault? Because that was around by now, wasn't it? That was
Well, I mean, you had Dukes of Hazzard, Cannonball Run,
Yeah.
all of those. there's-
Convoy. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, the
all of
truck.
that stuff.
We had the mother trucker thing, didn't we?
Yeah,
Rubber ducky.
I'm not the leader. I'm just the guy at the front.
yeah. So if you don't know, CB was big in the 80s. We've also got Rent-A-Ghost is
That used to
carrying
freak
on.
me out.
I think it debuted a couple of years before that, but it's still flying high in the.
Rent-A-Ghost confused me when I was a little bit younger
Okay.
because I thought it was a bloke out of Queen.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury. Obviously, I know his name now, but as a child, I thought it was the same thing.
Claypole.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was his first name?
Claypole.
Timothy.
Timothy Claypole.
Yeah, and he used to have his mini jester, didn't he?
Yeah,
As well. That
and I think I must have seen something where like Freddie Mercury was dressed up like a jester, and there's a little while as a child where I was just convinced they were the same person.
Yeah, no, I think it was about the same. Yeah.
I imagine they went to similar parties.
Yeah, I
think
I
they
guess so.
don't quote me on it. They may have had a similar fate actually.
And when they got together, it was murder. Because Heart to Heart was out. That's the only reason I said that. I wanted to say that line.
I've been itching to say it since the start.
That was. I remember watching that, but I've revisited that recently thanks to whatever channel it's on now, and Heart to Heart was quite interesting, really.
And obviously, the one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is we got a shed load of Star Wars toys because Empire Strikes Back came out.
Yep.
Oh yes, the AT-AT.
That was brilliant.
That was the Christmas must-have.
See, I'm going to take a step back from this conversation, but not for the reasons you think I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to take a step back because I'm mentally scarred by by Star Wars toys, purely for the fact that both my brother and I had one of everything pretty much, and my dad sold the lot when I was probably about 6 or 7 for 300 quid. The whole lot, 2 of everything.
If you're listening, Michael.
Yeah. So I can't. You go ahead. You crack on because I think it's a good conversation.
I heard he spent the money on Goodies albums. That was why the Funky Gibbon got so high in the chart. All the money went on it.
Could have been worse because it'd been Metal Mickey.
It may have been.
Probably should point out that he sold it because we weren't playing with it anymore, not because he's like a mean.
Yeah. Well, either way, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. No.
But
he should have known how much this stuff would have been worth.
That's why God invented lofts.
Yeah. But anyway, you carry on. Let's talk about Star Wars.
Well, it was.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
That's why you used to put your protected stuff because if later on in life, if you were going out or moving out, I'm just going to put that in the loft because they're not going to go up there.
No.
It's safe zone.
You sound like Joseph Fritzl.
Unless you had a brother like me who did
out.
go up into the loft and so a lot of your old Star Wars toys just disappeared.
Just went somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, another cool toy that I had, which I just, because we're talking about toys and it would have been around this time, I can't pinpoint it down exactly, but I had the Dukes of Hazzard barn blaster thing. Where you wound it up and it like went for a barn and knocked some plastic crates over.
Yep.
And then like your mum trod on it and broke it.
Is that like everyone had the Evil Knievel?
Yeah, similar.
wind-up
It was
toy?
like the car. Yeah.
I don't know if it was about this time or not. It might have been a bit later. But did you ever have the watch one? So you had the little Dukes of Hazzard
Yes.
wristband, and you would wind it up, and then just it would
It was two.
go off, and you had
Oh
was
yeah,
him and
yeah,
the other
yeah,
one was
that's
the
boss,
police
yeah,
car.
Yeah.
That was great.
Wow. You just unlocked a memory.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just sat here like
Yeah,
dazed
reminiscing
now.
now, yeah.
Yeah, real quiet, at peace. Right now.
Yeah.
It's very zen here at the moment. As you all remember when the only care in the world was trying to get that toy car back out from under the settee
Yeah.
and not rent, phone bills and whatever else and mortgages.
And obviously in those days as well, we'd have proper toy catalogues, which you'd get in January, and you'd say to your mum and dad, "I want this for Christmas," and they'd have 50 weeks to pay it
Yeah.
off or prep for it.
Yeah,
And then by then we I want that one.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one watches that
I'm a year
anymore.
older now.
I want Thundercats now, not Star Wars.
I
or
want
whatever.
penny races.
No
That's what
one
I
would
want.
ever say that, Brett.
I know.
I
was trying
don't
to
want
give it-
Star Wars now, you idiot. Take that back.
It would have been Mask, or would it have been the most powerful man and who may have been a master of the universe, or if we jumping forward too much?
Might be jumping a little too
Okay.
far there. We're
Okay.
for some reason we're doing this in a chronological order, which was not really the plan.
But hey,
So let's stop now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the box office for 81, 82 and 83 and TV shows for the same 3 years. I'm not going to read them out again.
okay.
And then that way we can then just jump. We can
Okay,
go back
yeah.
and talk about all of them at the
So
same
we're happy to jump through time,
jump through from
quantum leap through.
yeah, but not past 83.
Nothing past 83. Okay.
So we can only
yes,
leap
sir.
within that small circle of time.
Wow.
So 1981, we've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman 2, Stripes, Time Bandits, Clash of the Titans, American Werewolf in London. I just felt that needed a nice little dramatic pause. Escape from New York and Scanners. In 1982, we've got Dark Crystal, E.T., Rocky 3, Porky's,
Yay.
Rambo First Blood, or I think it was just called First Blood then, Conan, Tron, Blade Runner, and another dramatic pause,
Blade Runner shit.
Beastmaster.
Yes.
And then in 1983, we've got Return of the Jedi, Flashdance, Trading Places, War Games, Risky Business, Superman 3, Twilight Zone, I can't say it, Cujo, Kroll, another personal favourite of mine,
Yep.
Strange Brew, Evil Dead, and Videodrome. On TV,
Oof.
Doctor Who is now Peter Davison.
Yeah.
Yay.
The Fall Guy makes his debut. Hill Street Blues makes its debut. Pigeon Street makes its debut.
Probably one of the first interracial marriages in a cartoon.
Wouldn't be surprised. You should Google that. Only Fools makes its debut.
I think I wrote the bit that Google looks up to.
Postman Pat. Danger Mouse makes its debut.
Crumbs.
Bullseye makes its debut. We've got
Out-
Day of the
out-
Triffids.
What was it? Out of the black and into the red.
Nothing in this
gets
game for
in,
two in a bed. Have a look at what you could have won. And here's your BFH.
Yep.
We've also got Will-O the Wisp.
That was weird.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Cool.
Bergerac.
Bam, bam,
Hitchhiker's
bam.
Guide to the Galaxy.
Yay.
A precursor to... Well, I think it's more or less a precursor to things like Young Ones, etc., which is a kick up the 80s. We've got
Dark Towers.
personal and, I think, podcast favourite, Dark Towers.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And
Long
The
live-
Greatest American Hero made its final bow
Wow.
after 3 seasons.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. Nice to see what you did there. 1982 for TV, we got TJ Hooker debuting.
Yes.
Dynasty is carrying on, I think.
Whatever.
Yeah, that was 81.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fame makes its debut,
Remember
certainly
my
in the UK.
name?
I think it was year before in the States. Saturday Superstore,
Yeah.
which is a replacement for Swap Shop.
That was Keith Chegwin, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much all the same people. I think Mike Reed might have took over actually from Noel at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about the same time he was doing Runaround or...
No, the other Mike Reed.
Oh,
There was two Mike Reeds.
the one with
wasn't
glasses.
You had one with a voice.
What else we got? We got Boys from the Black Stuff.
Gives a job.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for. We've got the Young Ones. Hello, hello.
That was big in the States.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh. That surprises me.
Yeah. You can tell us more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know anything more about that, but apart from it was big in the States.
All right. Well, I'm sure we can come up with something. Emu's World has made its debut.
Hated that.
What?
Hated Emu.
Well, how can you hate Emu?
He's annoying. Every time you'd see him on a chat show, he'd be attacking the presenter.
It's because he was unpredictable.
That's
No
his
one wants
shtick.
that. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to carry on. Brookside made its debut.
He wouldn't have done it to Will Smith.
God, was that 82?
Apparently so.
Blimey.
I never watched Brookside, so
When it started, it was really good. Again, Phil Redmond, when it started, it was edgy and did stuff like, I remember that was the first, or the first thing I remember where like there was someone on it who was gay.
I just remember it being big
And,
because
like,
it was in
people-
proper houses.
Yeah, and people like got attacked and they did drugs. I remember there was a cult at one point, and it was just sort of all sort of
well, I
stuff
know there's
that,
the famous body under the patio thing, but I don't know if
that
that
was
was later.
like,
wasn't it?
yeah. But when it started, it was very much all the kind of had a bit of racism in it. It was kind of all the stuff that you didn't see on Corrie.
When
And
did Anna
EastEnders-
Friel come into it then?
That was the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, because she ain't that old.
No. No, she's about
No, I was
Yeah.
gonna say maybe about 80, 88 to 90ish, and then by the time
Well,
other
the
bit came, that was
famous
when
thing
she-
is definitely 90s.
Yeah,
I can
and
attest to
then
that.
yeah, that's what I say, yeah.
I say I never watched
We
Brookside,
all had the
only-
poster from Sky magazine.
I'm going to carry on. We've got Comic Strip. Made its debut with Five Go Mad in Dorset.
Yee.
Father Ted.
Super Ted.
Oh, yeah, Super Ted. Sorry, Father Ted.
Yeah, is it that old? Yeah, Father Ted was the spin-off of Super
Yeah.
Ted.
Another debut, Knight Rider.
Yes.
The Incredible Hulk ended this year.
Yeah, it was good while it lasted.
Cagney and Lacey.
Yep.
Yeah,
And another debut, Cheers.
legendary show.
Everybody knows
And
your
don't forget,
name.
Cagney and Lacey is where we got our first dose of Martin Cove, really.
Is it?
Go on to be, because he was like the cop at the station before.
Yeah, I know you
Before,
mean. You're right.
before he became Cobra Kai.
Yeah, you're right.
Because for years I thought it was Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, very, very similar.
Is that like from Dirty Dad? No.
Okay, so we're on to 1983, and in the box office,
Ooh.
we've got Return of the Jedi,
Yes.
Flashdance,
Mm.
Trading Places,
Yay.
War Games.
Didn't we just do this?
Did I?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
went through all of the movies.
Oh, I do apologise.
That's how they're still at the top of the box office. That's how good it was.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll go straight to TV then. The A-Team
Oh,
made
yeah.
its debut in 1983.
Saturday night TV
Along with-
changed forever.
At the same time, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Chips bowed out,
Yeah, they'd done it. It'd fried its chips by then.
Quincy bowed out,
Oh,
Taxi bowed out.
yeah, they'd all kind of got famous by then.
Yeah, everyone's starting to leave.
It's just Andy Kaufman. No,
Yeah.
I think he died by then. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Fraggle Rock made its debut.
Yay! Which
The
means
most-
I did.
You what?
Which means I did. So over 4 seconds, lost in
Yeah,
time.
you don't see the UK.
I think they're all destroyed. It was all regional, so it was all. It's probably
Saw your knees and that was it.
well, you saw a bit of
Mel-
me and
melted
a
the-
Parker coat and a little bit
melted
of
the
my
tape.
face. That if you knew it was me, you might have known it was
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But in the half second he ran past me at Kingsland Market, Uncle Travelling Matt did. Yeah, 'cause it was all regional, so it was on a tape probably somewhere at TVS Studios until whatever.
Until they
it's
decided to
probably
just
in
take over it.
landfill now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably got taped over with Late Night Late,
Probably.
which
So the most powerful man in the universe made his debut in this year.
yes.
You got Benji Zax.
And the Alien Prince.
Thank you. I
Yes.
couldn't be bothered to write all of that down.
That
so
was brilliant.
I'm glad you did that. Inspector Gadget debuted.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons debuted.
Oh, yes. We're entering a golden age
We
of
are,
the cartoon
yeah.
market now, aren't we?
Automan
Yes.
and
Chuck Wagner.
V, the mini series.
One of the greatest TV shows ever made. Easily in my top 3.
That's a bold statement.
That is
Oh,
a
it
bold
is.
statement.
Changed my life.
I love the sincerity in his voice
Yeah.
then as well.
V
There's
was,
not a hint of irony in that, is there? That's...
V was amazing. I could do like 5 hours on my own talking about V.
Well, why don't you do 5 minutes now?
Okay, for those who've never seen V or are thinking of that horrible remake from a few years ago, well, probably 10 years ago
20
now.
years ago now, I'd say, but yeah.
Is it really?
No. 50.
Probably,
well,
probably is.
yeah,
Might be.
it was.
It was early 2000s, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Oh, shit. But the original from the 80s starred Mark Singer, the Beastmaster himself, as Mike Donovan, a TV cameraman who gets caught up in, well, basically aliens come to Earth and they want to be our friends. And it's a huge space analogy of Nazism.
Yep.
Really, and propaganda.
Even down to
And
their
even the
uniform
logo. If you're not sure, take a look at a little bit of the logo. Because at one point I was going to get the T-shirt with it on, and then I was like,
No, from a distance, it's not going to look too good, is it?
There's going to be one night we're going to get smashed in the face for it. But yeah, and Jane Badler was Diana, the alien chief scientist at the time. You had Richard Hurd as the Supreme Commander John. Juliet Parrish was played by... you got me.
Well, that's not important.
Faye. It is.
Faye Dunaway.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But
Faye Grant.
Faye
Faye Grant and Blair Tefkin as Robin Maxwell, who was the poor girl who was subjected to the cruel alien experiment that resulted in her being impregnated with a lizard.
Yep.
Lizard babies.
There's a baby.
Babies.
Lizard
It was twins, but one died.
Yeah, you're right.
Your dreams come true.
And what was really funny, Brian, the alien that done it, I forgot his real name after I looked at him, but he ended up being like somebody's dad in like a TV program or a film. But it was one of those, he looked so different, you never realised it was him, because he was basically a face knockoff. You know, it was that kind of thing. But he ended up doing some other stuff, but I'll have a look in a minute. But yeah,
Have
really
you mentioned?
good. Yes, of course. And it was also an earlier appearance for a young actor named Robert England, who, about the time he filmed this, was also filming another small little horror film that he was hoping might make him a few quid as well. We're still waiting to see how that one went for him. But yeah, great show that then turned into, and following up from that, it was V, the Final Battle. Then it got its own series, but by that point, the TV network interference kind of ruined it a little bit, and they cut the budget. And it was, unfortunately, every time it was a success, they got less budget to make the next one. Bit like what happened to the original Planet of the Apes films. It was one of those studios, which may have been Warner as well, actually, of like, that was brilliant. We want you to make another series with half the budget.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. We want to make you again with even more half the budget. And so by the time we got to the weekly TV series, after 13 episodes, it kind of run its course. And the big thing about V, though, was in England, it was 1984 it was on, because they ran it against the Olympics. Cause,
Oh, right, okay.
yeah, they ran it against the Olympics because it was, like, I think it was bought, they put it on every night for a week. And it was bought as a kind of, we'll just chuck it on then because the Olympics are on. You know, we won't put any other program on.
Yeah.
And it smashed the shit out of the Olympics in the ratings. And everyone watched me instead. And it was like, I think that was what helped get like the next one, because it was around the world. A lot of people had done that, but, you know, and it was, yeah. And people were videoing it and recording and shaving it for people. What do you mean you didn't see it? And it became the hot topic for a little while. But yeah, go and watch it. It's really good. And I could go on more. There's lots more, but I'll shut up now because we've only got 5 hours left.
Okay. Anything, Paul, from what I've read out?
TV or film?
Either.
Well,
There's no rules here.
there's
It's the 80s.
loads of standouts. And I guess American Werewolf in London just reminds me of my granddad, because we used to watch that on VHS when I was a kid, going around to his house.
So there's certain points where the video would jump a little bit. I know my VHS copy, it would jump a little bit when he first goes back to Alex's flat, but
Not that I remember.
okay.
I just remember, well,
it go a little bit crackly in certain
although
points.
I was watching it through a cloud of smoke, as my granddad would
But everyone
do.
smoked in the 80s.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Clash of the Titans was literally, because again it was a BBC film, so I just remember that being everywhere as a kid to try and get people to go and watch it. But yeah, special effects nowadays obviously don't stand up, but at the time it's like, oh my god, that's incredible. Time Bandits was I think probably one of the ones I would have worn out on VHS watching it over and over again. Probably because, several reasons.
You had a thing for John Cleese, I don't know.
Tell me one of these several reasons.
Well, no, it was just that epic fantasy film when you were a kid. And it's the old story of like a normal boy that's just transported into like this magical fairy tale. Yeah, and Sean Connery comes along and even though, what is he? Is he like some Roman or Greek warrior or something?
Yeah,
he can play anything.
Even though he's got a Scottish accent.
He was Spanish in Highlander.
Yeah.
Hey. He didn't even hide it.
No.
Yeah, but it was just. I almost said Neil Gaiman then. Terry Gilliam. Just pure fantasy. It was brilliant. I think Dark Crystal was one of those ones that was on the edge of scaring me shitless, but at the same time you couldn't kind of look away. It would throw in some of the cute puppets and then instantly have them killed by these bloody huge crab-like spider things. So yeah, you did want to look away, and then there was some horror coming along, then something cute would come along, and then another big spider would come along and just kill everyone. And done in such a good way now, where I think it's almost too soft for kids. But the 80s was absolutely about challenging them, making them scared in a really positive way, I think, as opposed to potentially mollycoddling them.
Like
slightly.
It didn't talk down to them, did it? You were presented with things.
This is a proper
to talk
fantasy
with your parents
film.
about. Yeah.
Not only that, it's a proper family film as well, because it what they call family film now is pretty much a Disney cartoon.
Yeah.
But back then, certainly in the films and the TV shows that we're talking about, when we say
Sometimes,
family, it appealed from 4 or 5 years old all the way up.
And also there might be bits parents needed to explain to children, but not too bad. But just as a side note, sorry, Brian from V ended up being Queen Maeve's dad in The Boys.
Oh.
That was what I spotted him in recently. I knew it was that recent. It was someone's dad, and he was just staring at him very. Obviously, he's
older.
It's a few years since V, and it was I was just staring at him, and I looked it up, and then I realised who it was. I was really excited, and then realised that me and him were the only people in the world that cared about that. And he already knew.
Let's move on from V.
I mean, obviously we had one of the biggest films ever, which was E.T. But yes, while I remember I might have been out playing on a Sunday for Mum to say, time to come home from playing, your dad's got a VHS. Coming back to watch
Was she frail and poorly?
yeah.
On your ranch.
So he'd come home and then he'd have a copy of E.T. that he'd somehow managed to get hold of. But if I'm honest,
we had dodgy E.T. copies.
To say, wasn't there a thing that it wasn't out on VHS for a long time?
Oh yeah.
After its theatrical release.
Yeah,
I think that's the first pirate film everyone owned.
Yeah.
But if I'm completely
everyone
honest,
did.
what I remember most, other than the actual film itself, was the glow-in-the-dark stickers you could get with your cereal.
Yeah, and then there was a whole sticker album, and I may have been in the E.T. fan club.
Cool.
For about 2 years. I still have the 7-inch record that you got from the E.T. fan club.
You still get the letters.
Is it a picture disc?
No, but basically it's just all like clips from the film and that. There wasn't really any songs.
Oh, it's a shame.
Like,
Because if it was a picture disc, I'd say you could loan it and put it in the Cult Faction Museum that
the
I'm building here.
Museum.
Is that where you charge the entry fee?
Yeah,
tonight?
it's going to go up as more things get added.
But
as more loft finds appear.
There was always something weird about E.T. though, because I think this is when I started realising that Spielberg might have had daddy issues. Yeah, then it turned out, he ended up being a Jedi Knight. And he's definitely in the start. Well, he's in the Phantom Menace. But then it was like, it's just like, I've seen this before somewhere. And Jesus. It's the Jesus story, but they changed it to an alien. He comes down from above hangs around with some poor people, heals some people, performs some miracles, dies, rises again, and ascends at the end.
Yep, there you go.
Just in case you hadn't.
Add a few sweeties up. I'm still not working out which one the prostitute was, but the one bit that was always interesting with Jesus. We've changed the podcast.
I remember, kids.
So for just $5
We've
a
just
month,
switched over to the Christian network.
Touch the screen.
if you send us $5 a month, you can plant that seed, and the Lord will save your soul. With ET is that it was absolutely true, and it's loads of people have testified to it, and even government officials have said it, that they did a screening at the White House.
Oh, I wondered where this was going.
So did I.
And
It was absolutely true.
Yeah.
and
There was
no,
an
but
alien.
when it was filmed. When they watched it, Ronald Reagan turned around to Spielberg at the end, shook his hand, and went, "You don't know how true this film is."
Oh, okay.
And everyone was like, "Did he just say that?" And they were saying, loads of people heard him say it. Even people like in his government said they didn't know what he was on about, but that is what he said. And
He
of
could have
course,
just been playing with them, though.
yeah, but people over the years have used that as a they're here and all that, and it came out a lot more obviously in the late 90s or the early 90s when other TV shows suddenly kind of hopped on that bandwagon. But that's for episode 152 by the time we get to there.
Yeah.
We haven't got past 83 yet, but yeah, that was one of the big things in later years of ET. That was what Ronald Reagan said about it. You don't know how true this film is.
Cool.
But
I never knew that. That's
Yeah.
not something I've
But it was
come
definitely it wasn't, and it's not an urban myth. It's not a Munchausen's by proxy thing where everyone thinks he said it. It was all
That's
people
you're thinking
said
the Mandela effect. Effect.
Munchausen's when
Munchausen's when you make people ill, or you think you're ill. No.
Yeah, no, you're right. But that's
But
what
E.T. does get ill.
that's what the US government do, man. Fox Mulder was on that one.
Munchen, that's the one where you make your
Make people
someone
ill so you can
keep
make
looking
them
after-
better.
Yeah.
So you can be the hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which maybe Reagan was doing. Cold
Maybe.
War. It was the Cold War, man.
Whereas the Mandela effect is you remember something
Something incorrectly.
that is
Yeah, no,
incorrect or you think has changed or
Which
whatever.
links in though to the tic-tac-toe
The what?
of war games.
Oh, okay. I thought we were still on 8. I'm trying to think.
How?
What happened in ET?
How is that a link?
The Cold War. Nothing sounds like
Oh,
the Cold
okay.
War like
Because we're in the
tic-tac-toe.
80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the government controlling things. And the computer, was it called Max or was that Space Camp?
The robot was called Max.
Yeah.
In Space Camp.
Oh no. What was the robot what was the one in Space Camp where he logs into and then he plays thermonuclear war with it?
Space Camp, you just mentioned is Max.
so in War Games, what was it? It had a name, didn't it? I can't remember now.
Don't know.
He
I don't
logs
remember
in-
War Games that well.
He
remember
logs
watching
into
it.
It was
enjoying
named
it,
after
but-
his kid, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sid. No,
Not Sid. That's the boy from Toy Story. It could have been
he
Max as
wasn't
well.
even born.
Who knows?
But yeah, that was a great film, and that is
Matthew
know-
Broderick in his finest.
yeah. If you and Ali Sheedy,
think
John
so.
Wood as Dr. Falcon. John Wood, who was kind of one of those actors that looked a bit weird and would often play professors or
Yeah.
nutters or that kind of guy that knew the truth but was a bit weird.
Before the rise of the English professor or the English bad guy.
Yeah, War Games, I think, is if you wanted to teach kids about what the Cold War was, maybe get them to watch War Games.
Definitely.
The whole everyone worried about someone else setting off a nuclear bomb before they did.
Yep. And it was done in such a good way as well. I mean, because it's another one from the time where they build it up. It's all happy and sweet. Boy meets girl. Boy changes girl's grades to make her get all A's. That they're building up that.
Would that be the first computer hacky film as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, it could be.
Ooh, yeah. No, sorry, Karen Paul. Yeah, just
Yeah.
as you said, that
And then it takes a bit of a dark twist when they're looking for Falcon and go to his island, and he's saying, "Well, look, there's nothing you can do about it now. You might as well just spend the last few minutes of your life enjoying yourselves." Matthew Broderick looks at Ali Sheedy and thinks, "Okay, maybe it's not so bad." And then they get locked into the
bunker.
Yeah.
Not NORAD.
Nora out under the big mountains, and you think, well, we're sealed in now, so that's it. we have to live here for a few years if everything goes, pear-shaped. And it was that big sense of dread at the end where, they're not sure whether he's actually going to launch the nukes or whatever. And then you think they have, and then it turns out he's just playing against themselves.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
How about a nice game of chess?
And
Yeah.
So the computer taught the world that no one was going to win at nuclear war. And, the world became a better place after it.
Well, it's about the same time as the Star Wars program, isn't it? As in the Reagan thing, not a TV program about Star Wars.
Yeah, that would have all been that would
around
have
that
been
time,
the
wasn't
same time. Yeah, because all
Me-
the Cold War
'Cause it's
hysteria of
where they moved away from mutually assured destruction to the kind of
targeted special stuff
yeah.
and satellites and. So you're getting a history lesson here, a bit
Yeah.
of religion. We got it all tonight. Psychological disorders.
Some of it might be a little bit ropey. We're not necessarily sure we know what we're talking about,
we're
but
not
we're pretty
saying-
certain that the Star Wars program started around this time.
Dear Americans, please tell us we're wrong and correct us. But
We're still looking forward to the debut of The Fall Guy and Hill
Yeah.
Street Blues.
I love the Fall Guy. That was another. There were a lot of shows in the 80s that I kind of wanted to be my job or film.
Yeah.
And the Fall Guy was one of them.
Everyone wanted to be a stuntman.
Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
be a stuntman and a bounty hunter.
And a Spider-Man.
I think that's why Dog the Bounty Hunter done so well when he came along decades later, because we were all still remembering Colt Seavers.
We're still cold turkey from the ending of The Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy stunt agency. Well, that was, I'm trying to remember now the badge.
No idea.
That was his logo. Because
I can see it, but I could
Yeah.
in my head I couldn't possibly read
And
it.
The one I always remember of that was when it was like a Texasy town in the middle of the desert somewhere, and it was a UFO, and the UFO came in, and everyone was freaking out about it, and it had like kidnapped someone or something. But then
And it turned out to be Boy George.
no, and then Colt Seavers got on the case, but it turned out it was like a
Swamp gas.
helicopter inside the UFO, because he'd recognised it.
Oh, that
from
rings a bell,
some
yeah.
kind of like, that's what they did in that film I was in when I needed to do that stunt that I couldn't quite do, and then to save the day he had to do that stunt he couldn't
Yeah.
quite do, and he did it. He was about a foot taller and about 2 stone lighter when he did it, but when he landed, it looked just like
It
him
was just
again.
like him again. For the close
Just
up.
like TJ Hooker is amazing for that.
Yeah.
Watch some of the fight
He
scenes
can't
with
run in the
TJ
corsets.
no, but even the fight scenes, they're not even hiding it. It's someone
Really?
else.
Although, how ironic.
Yeah, TJ Hooker was another one. But I was just glad that Matey still had a job. Like Adrian Zemeckis was Romano. What's his name? From Time Tunnel. Heather Locklear's partner in James Darren. He was Heather Locklear's partner. You had TJ and Romano. You had James Darren and Stacey.
You're looking at the wrong person. You know what I'm like with names. I can
TJ
barely
Hooker.
remember your
I'm
names.
avoiding his eyes. I just don't want to go down there.
I don't know why I remember shit. I just do. Yeah, but TJ Hooker was good as well. But then when they say, but they were all good then. Then we had Knight Rider, as you say. That had already come along by then, hadn't it?
Yeah.
That was 82, and what's her face?
And we had the A-Team as well.
Bonnie and the 80. I was
Spoiled
I was
for
building
choice.
up for that one. But it's good. But remember, different face in the premiere.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the dude that played Captain Power. I've forgotten his real name now. But then they realised that he wasn't old enough to have been in Vietnam. So then told him actually got it for being, you're attractive but you're older.
Yeah. We're back. We took a break there for, well, a little while whilst we argued about a few things, but we're back. Brett, go on then. You've got something you want to mention.
I was going to say, there was one hero we have totally overlooked from around sort of, I believe, 83 in the UK anyway. I think it was about the same in the US. The Adventures of Dr. Jonathan Chase. Does that ring anyone's bell?
No, it does for me because we had this conversation.
Yeah, shh.
It doesn't ring any bells for me. Where was I?
Kayfabe.
If I went like,
That doesn't work on radio, Paul.
it's not supposed to, but it's for Damien.
He's trying to help me out.
Played by Simon McCorkindale.
Ah, yeah.
Manimal.
Manimal.
With, what's her name? I can see her
Oh,
face.
don't do this. Don't do this.
No, it's Melody Anderson, who was also in Flash Gordon.
Right.
She was Dale in Flash Gordon, and then from that she ended up in Manimal, with a voiceover by William Conrad at the beginning. Dr. Jonathan Chase.
It didn't go on for too long, though, did it?
It went on for ages. There were
Did it?
8 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was only like one season.
It
But
was one of those ones that everyone really got into and talked about at the playground on Monday. Similar to I can't remember the exact name of it. Something like North Star.
Yeah, North Star. That was a TV movie pilot with
Yeah.
Greg Evergen, who later ended up in My Two Dads.
Yeah, and that was another one of those things that's cool, and then that didn't come back.
No, it's the American TV networks for you, ruining our fun. Yeah, I also had Michael D. Roberts in it, and the legendary Rennie Santoni as Lieutenant Nick Riviera. And yeah, Jonathan Chase could change into any animal he wanted.
Well,
but
we
was
didn't know.
normally
Yeah.
a Black Panther, a hawk, or was there others? But it's usually that, or maybe a jaguar or something.
Yeah,
That is a Black Panther.
it wasn't often that. I didn't normally turn into the bird.
Oh no! Apparently, during the series, hawk, Black Panther, horse, dolphin, bear, bull, and he was once shown becoming a snake.
Yeah, he didn't though. Not all the time.
I think the snake was in the opening credits. Don't know whether it ever.
But
So-
he could also absorb aspects of the various animals simultaneously, rather than just.
So that
changing
could cut
their
down the
form.
budget.
But,
Was it actually cancelled, or did they only make 8?
No,
So I was just
think-
giggling because he could take on some of the horse form when
yeah.
he wanted.
Which bit would you choose?
It wouldn't be the hooves. Coming in from a late night
Yeah.
with hooves.
I wish I had some
coming up the
coconut
stairs.
shells now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they put it against Dallas to start with.
That's not going to help, is it? Not in the 80s.
And then it got was put on hiatus after 4 episodes. Then they brought it back, did another 4 after 8 episodes. Yeah, it was just axed before the first season even ended. So
So some of those animals may never have actually made it to air.
yeah, well, the ones we saw were eventually shown.
Oh,
Well,
right, okay.
Those 8 episodes did all get aired.
Although, to be fair, we would have been about 6 years old. So,
Yeah, it used to be on Monday nights at 8 o'clock.
yeah, I do remember going to school, primary school, and it's obviously, this is no good for anyone listening at home, but these two can see it. It's just doing that with your hand to make out what you're changing into, whatever it was you're changing into.
But
Okay.
yeah, Manimal.
Yeah. So in the 80s, we had the rise of the computers, and we've spoken about war games. Obviously, there's the Terminator. There was the rise of the machines as well, but we also had the rise of the arcade games, which
Oh, yes.
Disney obviously cottoned onto. So they released to the world, which I remember loving as a kid, Tron.
Bruce Boxleiter. The Scarecrow himself.
And it was. Yeah, we spoke about it in the previous bit, but again, it was just a great family film because dads could watch it, kids could watch it, mums could probably watch it too if they weren't busy. And
They would have been in the kitchen back then.
exactly, yeah, making tea.
Making nice tea and sandwiches while we were watching films.
But it was another one where they transported Jeff Daniels away from the real world as a scientist into the computer world.
Jeff Daniels.
It's Jeff Daniels, isn't it? What?
Bridges.
Bridget. Oh, whatever. Jeff Daniels. Jeff. All right, Jeff. One of the Jeffs.
Have I had it wrong all these years?
That's what, he said it with so much conviction and confidence.
I was
just like, well,
questioning, and I could
yeah.
see Jeff Daniels in it as well as I pictured it in my head.
Actually, he would have made a good role. And then he obviously goes into all the different computer goes into the computer world that just happened to contain some really good computer games that they could also potentially be released. And meets Tron, and everything about it, from the light bikes or whatever they were called, with the little discs that you could throw around. They had it made, didn't they?
Yeah, it was cool, and it was the first one that was like the life of a computer game character. It was that kind of, this is what happens, what you don't see on the computer screen. So it was must have been the first. There may have been a Japanese one before anyone messages in. But the
Yeah.
first one we saw that, you know, you actually saw like what went on in your computer, and everyone was excited about computers because, you know, we just
You know
They were
that
the
doesn't
future.
actually
Yeah.
go on in your computer, though, yeah?
I know it doesn't.
Programs aren't
I know
actually
it
like
doesn't.
that.
I've seen Wreck-It Ralph. I know it really happens. And yeah. So yeah, it was great, and I'm still a massive fan of the sequel as well. I know everyone else went.
I didn't
but-
mind the sequel.
but I thought it was alright. Done went 7 to 10. You know,
They got some cool outfits.
it followed on well. I think it kept the lineage of Tron moving along.
Didn't have Jeff Daniels in it though. I always thought they missed the trick with that one.
I always felt that was missing from the film.
Yeah, not enough Jeff Daniels. At that point, what was he doing now? The bodyguard was later on it. I'm trying to think.
Much later, yeah.
So we also had the rise of the superheroes in regards to Hollywood terms. So we had likes of Schwarzenegger really taking off. You know, obviously he was in Terminator earlier on, but then we had him really making his scene.
He wasn't
like,
in Terminator earlier than 1983.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't.
Yeah, it was. That was 82, wasn't it?
No.
When was that then?
84 the earliest.
He'd been Conan at that point.
Yeah.
I thought the Terminator was 88. Oh God, we're gonna bore everyone unless Damien cuts this out.
I'll cut it out.
Terminator. Why did I think that was 88?
84.
The shit.
It is 80. It is early 80s. It was just a year.
God,
Yeah, we
blimey!
just haven't got
alright.
there yet.
Yeah, but anyway, we had the rise of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Get it right. That's what I'm saying.
One bloody year. It was in pre-production at the time,
Yeah, no doubt.
so they already had the posters coming, no doubt. Sly Stallone. So we had him in Rocky in the 70s. Before you say anything,
No, well, we had Rocky 3 in
yeah.
82, 83.
So again, he was making his name and then some, not just as a great writer director, but also as an action hero.
Saturday Night, no, Staying Alive on it. He wrote.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And obviously,
They're always just so bizarre.
Random.
Yeah.
Well, it was Payday probably.
and obviously, we had the rise of another superhero, Liam Neeson, in Krull.
The huge major part he played in Kroll.
Bernard Thingy's got a bigger
Bernard
role.
Bresslaw. Robbie Coltrane's in there. I think there's some other more famous names now, but were obviously back then not quite
I
so
did like
famous.
Kroll and Hawk the Slayer, which I think was around the same time.
Probably, yeah. Kroll's a great. In fact, so the tattoo I've got on my arm here, I'm not going to bother showing you now. You know what it is.
Is Kroll.
Is a Kroll. That's what the symbol's called. Roughly, I based it on a symbol
I
called
think
Kroll.
maybe that's kind of inspired the one on my leg as well, subliminally.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone wanted that. Everyone would have had one of those to throw around and kill people with as a kid.
But I have to say, I mean, I've used the term already this evening, but slightly mentally scarred by Kroll when Bernard Bresslaw pops his clogs. It's it's a sad moment, but he does make
Yeah.
it's for the greater good.
And we forgot one of Britain's greatest actors of all time that appeared in this.
Of course he is, yeah,
Todd Carty.
yeah. He's the young kid in it, isn't he?
Yep.
Tucker's luck ran out.
It's a sorry state of affairs. He's going to be more remembered for his shenanigans on Dancing on Ice, where he comes out and literally goes off this screen on the other side.
But everyone thought was part of the act, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. But yeah, no, an all-star cast.
Who's the lady from that?
Lizette Anthony.
Yeah.
Everyone loved.
Mm.
Still do.
No, I might be misremembering, but I think she later on went on to be in the video for Summer of '69. I don't think her career.
I was thinking 3 Up 2
That's
Down.
it. She did that. Went off to Hollywood, I think.
Yeah.
Again, I might be misremembering. It
She
might
was
be a
in
different
Look
person.
Who's Talking Now. Remember the one with the dogs? No,
Yeah.
no one else does.
To be fair, the music video for Summer of '69 is not going to be listed on IMDb or whatever it is you're looking at.
You don't know what I'm looking at.
I don't know what you're looking at.
I don't want to know what he's
No.
looking at. You dirty old man.
Yeah, so we had some great fantasy films in the 80s. Yeah, Hot Slayer, and obviously the other big ones that hit the box office.
That you now can't remember.
Well, Superman 2, Superman 3. So Superman 2. Well, the thing about Superman, the first one, is where...
Now, you know what my superhero knowledge is like, and even when I was a kid, I wasn't that into it. Superman 2.
So Superman
not the one with Richard Pryor in,
was
it?
was
No,
a guy
that's
that
free.
used to wear like a cape. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's Superman.
So the first Superman, I think, the critics loved.
Is Superman 2 the one with the guys in the mirror thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free.
I like that
But
one. That
as
is
a
the
kid,
one I like.
that's what I'm saying. As a kid, I think Superman 2 was the one that everyone loved.
Yeah.
Because it had,
Was it Richard Donner?
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Oh, wasn't it?
It was Richard Donner, but then halfway through, I think the Soulkinds, there was some sort of dispute, and it was like, because they filmed them both back to back. 1 and 2 were filmed back to back, and
Right.
1 came out while they were still filming. It obviously went big guns, and they made a mint. And they were arguing with Richard Donner about Superman 2. So halfway through it, they just sacked him, they binned him off, and brought in Richard Lester, who then went back and kind of refilmed bits and done other stuff. And a lot of Donner's stuff was left on the shelf for many years. A lot of the Brando stuff was all cut out, and then that's why in Superman 2, in the original cut, it's Superman's mum doing all the talking,
Right.
because her whole bit was probably like what Marlon Brando's lunch bill was. You know, so if he wanted in the film, they didn't have to pay him as much, basically. 'Cause
Yeah.
he got like more than anyone just for like 5 minutes at the beginning, and it went on for years. And there's always been this thing about the Donner cut. And about probably 10 years ago now, they brought out the box set with them all in, and there's actually a Richard Donner cut in there.
Does that come with free chili sauce?
No, but it's actually
That's quite good.
I
Paul.
like
Well
that.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a lot different. It totally changes the film. There's a lot more of like Superman Lois. They take out some of the cheese of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of became. It started on that. Obviously, what ended up in like Superman 3, where it just became like Superman was like the secondary character in his own movie by then,
Yeah.
wasn't it? You know, and all that, and you could see where it was going. But this is nothing like that at all. So the Donner version is out there now. It does exist. I'll lend you it. But it was quite a. They still had a lot of like the trucker, the taking his powers away, and all that sort of stuff. But it was a lot more.
Right, so you got the scene where he's flicking peanuts at the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So I think Superman 2 was one that kids loved at the time, and then Superman 3 came along, and that's where it got a bit evil with the one that fell into the computer and turned all like weird and stuff.
So I might be going out on a limb here, but didn't then that become like the blueprint for a lot of superhero films for the next 20 years, maybe a little bit less, where they were more comic booky in what the average person who doesn't read comics would think of comic books? Because you think the average person thinks comic books, they're for kids, so let's make a film.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot
So
more.
I'm not-
sort of,
don't-
yeah, no.
Don't
you
beat
that's
on me.
what-
I am not saying comics and comic books, etc., are for kids, but that's the perception of the general
Well,
populace.
that was what it was aimed for. Yeah, a lot of the stuff then, because Supergirl was next as well, and I think because of his experience on Superman 3, Reeve had a bit of a falling out with the Soulkinds at this point and refused to appear in Supergirl, and then in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace later on,
Rubbish.
he basically, Christopher Reeve funded that himself. He was like the producer, that, and well, it didn't end well, did it really?
No.
But
So that's the one with the kind of He-Man-y type rip-off.
Nuclear
flying-
Man.
Nuclear Man,
Yeah.
And there were 2 Nuclear Men as well, but one got cut out. The other one was I forgot his name now, but I think at some point I think it was might have even been Clive Mantle who ended up in Casualty. Little John from the original role. I think he was the other Nuclear Man, but he got cut out. Because there was going to be 2. Because why have one villain? We can have
When you
2.
can have 2, yeah.
And then it got cut down. But and that was the sort of law of diminishing returns. But that was basically the Soulkinds, the producers, who also did Santa Claus the movie. Again, probably about the same time. Another legendary film.
Careful what you say. He's watching.
But he's making
Stay on
this and
track.
checking it twice. But it was basically making it back to back. The first one was released, done really well, and it was like, well, if we get rid of this guy, we filmed half of it. We can just make even more money by hiring this pay this other guy less to direct it. And and they done that, and it was still a good film. It's still a good film. It was just like when you see it with what it could have been, it's a little bit more, got a bit more bite to it rather than just kind of
being all the wholesome,
the sort of stumbling along kind of silliness of it, and some of the bits. I don't think he spins the well backwards.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm trying to remember now. Or was that the other one? But
I don't know. I don't know which. This is a lot of them all merged. And that's
but that's what I said. The first 2 were it was one film really. It was just kind of because the Phantom Zone villains are in the first one. You see them get banished or whatever, and then they appear again later on, and all that. But it's quite a good little documentary thing on it actually. And what's his face? Richard Donner is quite honest and open about it, and he's saying about that, and I can see why I probably got all the nerves here and there and that. But if you can pick it up, because I don't think it's been on anything else. They just brought out the normal box set, and I wasn't going to buy it, and they went, and it's got the Richard Donner cut in it, but you can only get it if you bought the box set.
And that was it. You were queuing outside HMV.
No, I'd actually forgotten about it, and I was in Asda one day, and it was $5.99. I was like, yes, I'm having that.
Right, I'm going to go back to TV. So we got Danger Mouse making its debut, Bullseye making its debut. We could probably talk for an hour on Bullseye, so let's not, because
most of it inappropriate.
Although interesting, wasn't it Bullseye where the serial killer?
That's exactly what I was just thinking in my head as well. You're right. He was actually, and he appeared on it, and it was something to do with.
I think he won a prize.
He was he got through.
Won a patio. No, I don't know. No.
And part of the court case was something to do with the fact that he was saying that when he was arrested he had short hair or something. So all the it was a sketch artist back then. So they drawn what this guy looked like, and it's like, well, no, I've had my hair this style for the last 5 years or whatever. And then they discovered him. They found footage of him on Bullseye, and they got the image of him sort of facing the right way on a freeze frame. And it's like, this is you in July 1980, whatever it was.
In fact, you've got blood on that shirt.
And don't forget, you had Grot Bags appear on
I
Bullseye.
remember that. I always remember that.
Didn't do too well, to be fair, but she appeared nonetheless.
I was just like, Grot Bags are playing darts. And then I just spent the next 5 years waiting for someone else I knew to come out and be a special guest.
Yeah.
It was always like, it was never. Occasionally you got the big darts player like you heard of, but mostly like
Bristow or whatever. Bristow, not Bristow.
Bristow.
That's gravy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bristow appeared on there quite
Jockey
often, and Jockey Wilson, but
something like that. And then it was like, it's Dave Smith.
Yeah.
He's Watford's number one
yeah.
player.
He's an up and coming lad.
He's going to do well.
He's doing the
And it's the
circuit.
bit where the amateur would be getting better scores and results than him, yeah.
But yeah, no, Bullseye, it's got its place in British history.
Yeah, I think anyone that's never seen it just needs to find it on YouTube and just watch a few episodes.
Or challenge. It's on every
that's
night
true.
on
It is.
Challenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, they don't go as far back as they used to anymore on Challenge.
That's because they're all sexist as hell.
Yeah, well, that's just what I was about to say.
It's a lady playing darts.
Yeah.
Who can believe that? And then he slapped her and went, go and sit over there, love.
So for the prizes, like the guys would win it, would get a tankard, and the ladies would get a little goblet.
But also the big prize was just stupid because it would normally be two different people, not
separate
related, playing.
families. Yeah.
You've won a kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a speedboat. It's like, well, or a camper van. What we're going to share it, cut it in half?
One of the best things, and I think he pretty much does it in every episode. So, like, I mean, I can't relate or can't work out whether, like, I don't know, 50 quid was a lot of it was a probably a fair whack of money back then, 50 quid in 1981, but it's still not, a huge sum of money. It's more than 50 quid is now. But it's like the first team that got through decide they're not going to go and do the gamble, and then the other players would come out, and it's like, no, we've decided we're not going to take.
We've had a good day.
We're going to keep our 50 quid.
Yeah, and he's like, yep, no, that's a lot of money to you, lads, isn't it? That's a lot of money to you. It's like, how patronising can you get?
Yeah.
I'm a big time showbiz stand up comic and TV presenter. 50 quid is nothing to me, but to you guys,
I mean, I like my cigars with that.
I think as well, I've always kept an eye out for it, but I've never seen it. But Dave Spikey's on it under his real name.
What, as a contestant
as well?
Nice.
But I've kept my eye out for that, and I've gone through loads now.
Try
when
to
it's
find
been
it,
on,
yeah.
But I've never.
Oh, I'd love to see that, because he went on to present. He did the reboot, didn't he? Back in the early 2000s.
It'll appear one day, but you never see it on any of those, like, before they were famous either. Like, normally they track it down, so that's one of those. But again, maybe some episodes
Maybe not. Yeah,
are
I'd say
lost.
maybe not all of them were because it like same again. It was regional. Well, it wasn't regional as in made, but in the early episodes they were.
You had a contestant from each TV
Yeah, so you would go.
region,
This is Dave and John
from the Anglia,
from the
or
Anglian
they're
network
from
or whatever.
TBS, or
Yeah. So maybe those tapes got sent down to their respective regions or something like that.
British
See, I said we weren't going to talk about Bullseye, and we just spent the last 5 minutes talking about it.
So tell me about Danger Mouse.
I was never actually a big fan of Danger Mouse, to be fair. I think I've seen bits of it now, and I can see actually it's got quite a irreverent undertone to it. And it's quite funny, but I never really took to it when I was younger. Maybe because a lot of that irreverent comedy went over my head. I don't know.
I just remember liking it because his assistant was called Penfold, and that was.
I think I just liked
my
the
nana
car.
granddad's surname and all that. So it was like,
Yeah, his car was cool because it was before masks came along. So his cars go, that one
yeah,
could fly.
no, done a lot. It was kind of a bit James Bondy, wasn't it? He had all his going.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it's because it's basically it's a kind of parody of James Bond and Ipcris File and all of that sort of stuff, the spy stuff from the 60s and 70s, which kind of just obviously at 6 years old, went over my head.
But it was even an episode where everyone was just talking like really weird in it, and you're like, what's this? And then it turned out that they all got together at the end. They realised that all the script had been typed wrong. There was like
Really?
spelling mistakes in the script, and they even did, like, it was just odd things like that sometimes. Like he's getting in all of it, and then just this one episode, I just met everyone was like, "Who's it?" And like, what? And then at the end they all get together and go, well, there's a problem with the scripts here. We've all got these mistakes.
Oh, right,
and
so
then
they
just
kind of
all
went a bit
broke
meta.
the 4-4, sort of thing, and just sort of they just do odd things like that. But then without Danger Mouse, we wouldn't have got the Heart of Transylvania.
We can't talk about that.
Can't
yet.
talk about
We
that.
can't talk about it yet, but that's where he started.
Yeah,
He
Cosgrove.
was a villain.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a villain in that. The one in that and the one in his own show later on were totally different.
Yeah.
So they looked the same and had the same name, but were just totally different.
But we can't talk about that.
But they had the same voice.
Yeah, but we can't talk about that. It's like we can't talk about Bruno, but we can talk about Bruno Martelli, who was in Fame.
There's a link.
Wow.
Well done.
So tell us about Fame.
Well, just like superheroes and just like the internet and just like computer games, the rise of dance and
I thought you were
school
going to say
kids.
the rise of leg warmers.
I think and the rise of just celebrity in general, I think, wasn't
Yeah,
it? It was
and the
that,
rise
"Oh, I'm
of
famous."
school kids just dancing and breaking out into spontaneous song.
Just
now,
saying, no.
I've got hands up, yeah, because you had the gritty. Well, I say gritty. You had the
It
likes
was
of
gritty.
Grange Hill,
It had
but-
racism, drugs, violence, bullying.
but then from the US we had a different kind of school that came along. And no, not Degrassi.
That was Canada.
Yeah.
How dare you?
So yeah, we were inundated with kids just getting up in their lunch break,
Out
doing
on the streets.
yeah, doing dance routines, and it sounds really stupid, even though I can't really say it because with all the stuff on Disney, with the likes of zombies and all this kind of stuff, and Descendants, that's pretty much what they do. They just break out into random songs. But at the time, the series was very, very much. Not just that. I mean, being a bit flippant, they did have some, darker or more serious tones, but the actual film itself was quite
dark.
Yeah, was quite dark.
Casting couch bit, I remember.
But obviously, as a kid, I didn't actually watch that. But that was almost the entertaining side of you'd come home, maybe have your tea or whatever it was. I think it was on about like 6 p.m. or something like that. Then Fame would be on whenever I watched it.
I think that was later.
Yeah, no, it was, but that's when I watched it in earnest. I don't remember it from '83, if I'm completely honest.
No,
I remember having the records, or my mum did.
My mum was a huge fan of Fame. Definitely. I can still see the LP cover, and and like vinyl LP cover. I'm sure it's in my dad's loft somewhere.
But I always remember kind of.
What was the name of the old guy? Well, not professor, but the
Star Maker.
Oh, the one with the Bruno's mentor, whatever
Boris?
it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't Boris. Sure,
something like that.
Because he was the real teacher, wasn't he? But he was like an acting teacher who hadn't acted for years, and then they did Fame, and we need you to be an old acting teacher, and he'd been in films like say not when he was 20 or 30, but he hadn't acted for years or something. I remember that. It was
Benjamin Sharofsky.
Yeah, that'd be
Albert Haig.
For some reason, I thought he had a bit of a really weird name, but there we go. So
No,
Fame.
Sharofsky, perfectly normal.
and then I think didn't Janet Jackson pop in for a little while at one point, and I think
Don't
she
know.
was in it before she was in. Or was that after Different Strokes? And then
I thought you say before she was in the Jacksons.
and then
Yeah, let's not do this.
No.
Just
I can't
do you
help
remember
it.
the Day of the Triffids?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that. Again, I think
The film or the
I'm thinking the TV adaptation because I remember that scaring me.
that was another one where I hoped that we could go and pick Mum up from work just so I could miss it, and Dad would take us off to pick her up from work.
Did it have a dude with big glasses?
I don't remember. All I remember is
No, that was
obviously the
Tripods.
Triffids themselves. But so because we used to drive pretty much most Sundays, we would drive down to Bognor to go just spend the day on the beach. And back then you didn't have the motorway network wasn't what it is today.
Yeah.
So you had to go around on B roads, and there was these whacking great big plants. I don't know what they were, but my dad used to wind me up to say they're the Triffids, and you got to watch out. You got to count them when you're on the way in and count them on the way home. It's if they're not there, we've got to start worrying.
They're coming to get you,
Yeah,
Barbara.
it's probably where I get my winding up of Emily from. But it used to proper skip. I literally, and we would count them. Because there's only about 10 of them, just these weird tree-looking things. And you go, "Oh, there's 10 there now. We've got to make sure there's 10 on the way home."
I remember having to like a headlight in the distance was a Dalek. And we had to walk, like you'd be walking over at night or something. What's that up there? It's a Dalek, and it's coming to get you. Yeah, my family didn't really.
Yeah.
Mentally scarring was just going to happen. It was, although I didn't have to count Triffids, to be fair. I'm trying to look it up. I don't remember that, but everything I keep getting is that remake from a couple of years ago with Eddie Izzard.
No,
and
this
all
was a
that.
BBC. I
just
think it was
trying to look.
BBC adaptation.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
BBC was
remember it
great
being
for
really
that stuff in
grainy
those days.
Yeah, but you had the
But Tripod, that's what I was thinking of, because that kid with the glasses.
Was
Yeah.
Tripod's BBC? I thought that was.
I thought it was
I thought it was
BBC.
ITV.
I
Could
thought
be
it was
wrong.
BBC.
I thought it was BBC.
And
Could
then
be.
it-
Same with
then
the
then it
Could
just
be.
ended.
the children, not Children of the Stones. The
Children of Green, no.
I think actually it is Children of the Stones.
Yeah, there is Children.
Yeah.
So,
Wyndham. Well, that's probably
John
what's
Wyndham.
coming to my head because it's the same guy that done Triffids.
I
of
remember it
course,
was, yeah.
if we're talking Wyndham, then I'm just checking because we might have got the year wrong. Was Chucky about now?
No, I want to say that was mid-80s.
I think that was a bit later.
It was. That'll be next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, something to look forward to.
If we get past 1983 in this episode, which I'm not convinced we're going to.
But yeah, that's something that one day we'll get to. Yeah. One that was in the 80s, which I think deserves a mention, mainly.
Is it between 1980 and 83?
Yes, it fits the thing. It's a film. I think deserves a mention just for
Golfing.
Golfing.
Oh, bottom. But mainly because I've just totally thrown me now. Mainly because it wasn't a bad film, but mainly because of all the controversy around it. Twilight Zone, the movie, where there was the helicopter chase with Victor Morrow.
I don't know.
And
the
it
guy's name.
it crashed and killed him and the child actors that were with him, and that was obviously a tragedy. And then there's that whole thing about that was one of the first. This film is cursed, you know, which Poltergeist then got.
Was it John
the tag
Landis?
John Landis directed that segment 'cause it was different
Hmm.
bits, and then it turned out he'd been a bit naughty, hadn't he?
Yeah,
And people
a few
working
corners had been
late,
cut.
and a lot was cut off. I think a lot of wires were cut and all, but allegedly, and I like John Landis, but
The one that scared out of that, is it the rabbit or the kid that just watches cartoons? And you got the guy from Inner Space. I'm not thinking of
Dennis
Creepshow. I'm sure I'm thinking of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, was this Twilight Zone the movie?
Yeah.
Or this,
Definitely Twilight Zone the movie. So the guy that's in Inner Space who ends up getting miniaturized at the end and has to stand on someone's shoulders to use the phone box. I'm sure it's him. And he's in a white suit in Inner Space. I'm waffling. I'm gonna shut
That's
up.
right.
But there's a
I'm
bit
trying
where
to
it's a kid and he's just watching cartoons all the time, and there's all bad shit happening behind him. I'm sure that's a Twilight Zone.
It might be. I don't remember that in the film though. Because the film one, you had the plane crash.
Yeah, the gremlin.
The one
on the
with
plane.
the gremlin on the plane, and then you had Scatman Crowthers with all the old people, and they all turned young because they kicked the can.
Yeah, Ollie Oxenby.
So, that sort of, and then I think, that's the only bits I remember from the film.
Yeah, see, isn't there 4 stories in there?
You got me thinking now.
We're going to take a pause while we figure this one out. Okay, we can go on now. That's fine. So in that short interlude where you would have heard a fish, we've established that there was a cartoony thing about a kid who basically cons people to take him home and kidnaps and kills them. And there's a girl with no mouth. That's what we've established. I'm not losing my mind for a change.
Played
I
by
was
Cherry
right.
Curry from The Runaways, in fact. The girl with no mouth.
Good to know.
And segment 4 was John Lithgow on a plane.
Yeah.
With the gremlin.
It's weird how we remember them out of order.
I don't remember that bit at all.
Maybe it scared you so much you subliminally wiped it from your memory.
I thought he was the kid watching cartoons.
Yes.
It does sound familiar, but I'm sure that is my family and I haven't kidnapped them. That's real. I remember everything else, even the intros, the outros, but not that.
See,
bit.
I'd forgotten about Dan Aykroyd being the one. You do want to see something scary? I'd completely forgotten about that one, which is brilliant. It's brilliant. I forgot it. It's a brilliant segment. Now I remember it. I'm not sure about the guy in that segment is the one who was in Inner Space. We're going to park that. We're not going to go back to that and try and figure that one out because we'll be here for far too long. And in fact, talking about being here for far too long, 1980 to 1983 is going to become a 2-parter.
That doesn't mean we're staying for another 2.5 hours, does it?
No, it means we're going to stop here.
And continue.
And
Time stops in our realm.
Yeah, exactly.
Dun.
And next week you will get to hear us continuing to talk about 1980 to 1983. We might move on to later years. We'll see how we get on. So, unless anyone has something they really, really want to get off their chest.
No, nothing. No, the one I want can wait.
Cool. In that case, thank you very much for listening.
If you're still there.
If you're still listening.
Haven't been sucked into the Twilight
After
Zone.
almost 2 hours.
It was a big one, but we hope you enjoyed it.
Said the vicar to the nun. Or maybe Manimal when he turned into a horse. Who knows?
He took the elements of a horse. And on that note, it's time to say goodnight. Don't forget, rate and review us on your preferred podcast app. Check us out on TikTok. You might
YouTube,
find us on Twitter, but
and
we're rarely
everywhere
on
else.
there. Facebook, YouTube. Some new stuff going up on YouTube.
And of course, cultfaction.com.
The mothership.
The heartbeat, the mothership. Yeah.
And if there's anything from 1980 to 83 that we've missed off that you really want us to talk about in next week's episode, you can email us at
cultfactionpodcast@mail.com.
Well done, Paul. So that's it. It's a good night from me.
It's a good night from me.
And a farewell from me.
Till next time.
Superman.
Electric Blue, Volume 1, 8183.
Anyone think of a title? Hello, I'm here. Anyone listening to me?
1 1 1 2 2 2 2 1. I can't actually hear. Can I hear you in my headphones?